it's Tokes. Welcome to Water Sea Talks. In this video, I will be taking you on a journey. What journey? A journey as to how I found myself. The 4 genuine facts I found out about self along the way. The 1 limitation that stops all of us from realizing ourselves. And the 2 self-concepts that helped me along the way. Stay tuned. Let's dive in. So guys, when I embarked on my journey to finding myself, I'd always heard people talking about finding yourself, but I really didn't understand what it meant. I would sometimes wonder, what does that mean? I would usually describe myself using attributes. I was kind, I was loving, I was a mother, but I didn't really understand at my core what self was. So I started my journey. I started to read books, I started to do research to find out more about myself. And they were really helpful. But what I really wanted was I wanted someone who had been on this journey, a video of someone who had been on this journey to relate to what they were saying. So here I am sharing what I've learned along the way. Now, finding self is a journey of a lifetime. So I'm not in a place where I believe that I am complete, but this is what I've reviewed in regards to the state that I'm at this point in time. And I really hope that you can learn from this. I hope that, young adults, young girls, parents out there, we can all learn from this. So the first thing I'd like to share with you is the 4 genuine facts about self that I found along the way. And the first one was, self is not perfect. Because on this journey, I kept telling myself, the moment I find myself, I would be perfect. Everything, there'll be no wrong. Well, that's not true, because we're humans at the end of the day and we're not perfect. Self has a positive and a negative side to it. And although the negative sides we would need to tweak, we would need to make workable, we would need to change our understanding to make those things not fully positive, but very workable. Number 2, self is not an illusion. Now, along the journey, I kept telling myself of where I needed to be, what myself was going to be like. But again, that is wrong, because self is not what we want to be, is where we are at this point in time, is how we behave, is what is within us at this point in time, not what we want to be. So if we start on this journey thinking that this is what we want to be or is not part of where we are right now, then again, we could end up with the wrong expectations. Number 3, self is unique. That was a lesson for me, because I had friends which we were really like-minded, and we were caring, we were loving, and we were very similar. But what I still realized was that each one of us were still unique. There were things about us that were similar that made us relate to each other, but overall we were still unique. So it doesn't matter how similar you are with someone else, you need to realize that self is unique. Now, the 4th thing which I learned along the way was that self has its own thoughts. You need to give yourself time to actually go through those thoughts, to understand what self is. And again, this is something that I learned along the way. Now, that is my 4 genuine facts about self that I learned along the way. Now, this one, when I found out, was mind-blowing. And this is the number 1 limitation that stops us from being ourselves. I'm sure you know it. I know it. You know it. But we just never pay attention to it. And it is the number 1, being vague. Absolutely. Vagueness. That is it. That is the limitation that stops us from being ourselves. Because really we walk around thinking that we're making decisions and we know what we're doing, but really we're not. We have an idea of what it is, but we never really take time to actually decide if this is our decision. Someone's upset us, we know we're upset. We act we're upset, but do we know why it's really upset us? We don't. So we have vagueness, which obviously tells us something's wrong, but we never really find out the true reason why we're upset. And that is part of the journey to being self, because if we don't sit still, if we don't stay still, if we don't think still to understand the reason for the things that we do, for the decisions that we make, for the things that we say, We remain vague. We cannot be focused on anything. And part of self is to focus on something. Now, the last discussion in this video is the two self-concepts that really helped me along the way. And this was, do you know what they are? Well, it's self-worth and self-knowledge. Now, self-worth for me was mind-blowing, because I thought that I had self-worth. I thought that my worth was, I treat myself with respect and the things that I did, and it was enough. But I think all of us out there always think that we do this, but we could be doing it at 70% when we really need to be doing it 100%. So for me, I had to go back and understand, what is my self-worth? What does it mean to have self-worth? It's the same way as buying a new car. You drive it around, you wash it twice a week, 3 times a week, as often as you can. Make sure there's no scratch in it. That is exactly the same way we need to treat ourselves. We need to treat ourselves like we're eggs. But we don't do that. We take ourselves for granted. We take our thoughts for granted. When someone hurts us, when we have a certain feeling about something, we don't want to pursue it, we go ahead with it anyway. We don't care. We just go ahead with it with disrespect and self. And for every stage of our lives, we need to understand what our worth is. We need to understand what self is, and make sure that almost like we build it, if that makes sense. We need to build our self-worth. It's a lifelong journey. There's no one point where we say, oh yeah, we're complete, my self-worth's complete. We build this all through my life, all through our lives. So again, along this journey, I realized I needed to continuously build my self-worth in knowledge, in the way that I treat myself, in the way that I treat the people that I love. It was very important to me. How do you treat the people that you love? How do you treat yourself? And, sometimes I think also when we talk about self-worth, we talk about, beauty parlors, we talk about massages and the rest of it. And yes, that's great, the things that we do to build our self-worth. But let's not look at the outside for a minute. Let's just look at the inside. How do you treasure your thoughts? How do you treasure the things that mean so much to you? I had to take a minute back to understand what this means. And for me, it was, it was my faith, it was my family, it was my children, it was my friends. And these things really mattered. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about is self-knowledge. What is self-knowledge? It's in the name. It's a knowledge about self. It's a knowledge about ourself. Do you know what your tendencies are? Do you know what your thoughts are? Do you know what your habits and your hobbies are? We need to take a minute to really assess ourselves, to say, do I really like that? And sometimes, because we live in a fast-paced world, we don't have time to do this, but we really need to, because to be the maximum of our potential, these are part of the things that we need to know to help us to focus on whatever life ambition that we want to fulfill. So this episode has spoken about 2 self-concepts. In the other episode, I will carry on with the other self-concepts, and the other ones will be self-image and self-awareness for the next video. So please just check the link below and you'll be able to watch that video as well. Really hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you. Bye.